You sit down to write and nothing comes. Not because you don't feel anything, but because what you feel is shapeless. It has no form yet. It's heavy, it's untranslated. I've learned to respect that silence. There are moments when your internal world is ahead of your vocabulary. And on those days, I don't push myself or anyone else to dig deeper. I hand them a book, not for distraction, but for language. There's a relief in reading a sentence that says exactly what you could not articulate. You underline it, you pause, you think. Yes, that's exactly what I was feeling. The sentence becomes a bridge. You were not empty, you were unnamed. Writer Didion once wrote, I write entirely to find out what I'm thinking. Sometimes, though, we reach to find out what you're feeling. There's no shame in borrowing clarity. When you journal one page a day, you don't have to manufacture originality. You're not being graded. If all you write is a copied paragraph from a novel that resonates, that counts because there's language. If you write a poem's stanza and then add, this is how today feels, that counts. This is called resonance reading. We pay attention to what grips you, what line makes you inhale slightly deeper, what paragraphs makes you uncomfortable in a familiar way. Those reactions are information. Often people think journaling means producing insight, producing your own words. Some days journaling means collecting it. When someone tells me, I don't know what I feel, I ask, what have you been reading? Because literature carries emotional precision most of us were never taught. Consider how Rainer Maria Rilke writes about uncertainty, not as failure, but as something to be lived through patiently. When you encounter that tone, your own confusion softens. Or how Maya Angelou names resilience without denying pain. You borrow her steadiness for a moment. I know I have, a lot of times, a lot of days. That borrowing is not imitation, it's scaffolding. You lean on language until your own strengthens. There's a reason we highlight sentences. We are marking our emotional territory. When you copy a line into your journal, you're saying, this belongs near my experience, and something shifts. You stop feeling isolated inside your own thoughts. You realize someone somewhere has stood in a similar internal landscape. Reading does not erase loneliness, far from it, but it reduces distortion. It reminds you that complexity is survivable. On days when your page feels resistant, try this. Open a book at random, read slowly, copy the sentences that unsettles you, then write one honest reaction beneath it. That's called a literary journal. I do it all the time, and sometimes I need it more than my everyday practice. Just write how you feel. That's enough. You do not need an essay, you do not need contact. I've seen how borrowed language can stabilize someone mid spiral, not because it solves the problem, because it names it, and naming reduces panic. You might notice something else too. Over time, the sentences you borrow begin to change. At first, you borrow words about survival, later, you borrow words about desire. Eventually, you borrow words about boundaries. Your selections reveal your evolution. Even silence has seasons. Some days you won't want advice, you'll want recognition, a paragraph that says, I see this, I've been here. Let your journal become a place where other voices sit beside yours. Not louder than yours, not refined than yours, just beside yours. And slowly, without announcement, your own language strengthens. You begin paraphrasing instead of copying. Then you begin responding instead of reacting. Then you begin writing sentences that someone else might one day borrow. That is how emotional literacy grows, not in isolation, in conversation. Tonight, if you don't have the words, don't force them. Borrow one, or two, or a paragraph. See what reveals about you, and pay attention to which sentences refuse to let you go. They're telling you more than you think.